Just hit the reach out, I'll call you. When they try, you know that I'll be there for you. So take a deep breath, drink water. You know that these streets just now calm down. Take a deep breath, drink water. You know that these streets just now calm down. Oh, calm down, oh, calm down. Whenever you feel like you might drown, oh, calm down, oh, calm down. You know that these streets just loud.
Hello, I'm Summer, and thank you for stopping by for a visit. I hope everyone is having a great end of 2024, preparing to welcome in 2025. I always get excited about a new year, but I think life is to be lived every day, so every day is great. Every breath is a new beginning, but there's something about going in with whatever type of feelings you have from that previous year, going into the new year with realistic optimism, I think is always exciting. So even though we're in the throes of the holidays, one way or another, I'm excited about 2025, and I hope you all are too. So I decided that, well, first, let me go through a couple, maybe one or two of my favorite things. Downtown Phoenix is filled with lovely murals and art installations, such as this one, Her Secret is Patience, at the Civic Space Park. But I really love going to the restaurants such as Love Bite. It's one of my favorites. They have great dumplings there. And of course, I love the pink rice. They also have great noodles and delicious sauces that complement whatever dish you get. And I love anytime I get to pull out my glow-in-the-dark chopsticks. After I get this, I usually like to walk over to the Churchill, which is a food hall by day and an entertainment complex by night. My favorite go-to is In Fruition. They have delicious acai bowls and different smoothies, and I usually get the pink dragon lemonade. It's delicious. Now with that, let's get into this video series. So I don't know if this is going to be a trilogy or more. It's definitely going to be a trilogy. I wanted to get into something called The First, and I'm going to take it back a while and talk about the first post-college series, kind of what led you to career decisions post-university, where you decide to live, how the first few weeks or few months of work go for you, and maybe even incorporate in some major purchases. But I feel like that's a good 3-part series, but I feel like you can always extend that, like how it is maybe if you move to a different state after you finish undergrad, which I did, and the different adjustments you make with that. And then it took me, because I was getting acclimated to the city and also my new professional work schedule, how long it took me to actually go back home to visit. I might get into those, but the biggest part is a 3-part series of The First post-college, which is accepting the first job, deciding housing, lodging, how that's going to go, and then actually being into the throes of your first job. So this was actually very exciting for me. So I'm starting off with, we'll say, fielding job offers. And it's so funny that I still have, actually with probably the first 10 years of places that I worked, I have the physical paperwork of when I accepted the job. But what it takes me back to with all this is when I was actually going through the interview process. And what was so great about this, many years ago when I was attending undergrad, my HBCU, everything, our career services center was an integral part of everything. When you're in school, internships, what you're going to do over your breaks as far as internships or deciding where you're going to work. And the way ours was put together, there was a lot of alumni support, which was very very, very wonderful. And then specifically in the field that I was in, because I was studying finance and economics, but I always considered myself more of an economist. So you have all these different companies that you look at, and from a finance perspective, you have different insurance agencies coming in, banks coming in, corporations. Being in Ohio, it was NCR or Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which was amazing. All these different places who would come in, who had different ties to us, who were in certain parts of Ohio, and knew that you were putting this time into your education and you're putting time into your studies, and so they would really want to invest in you, so you would reinvest back into those communities. And it was very amazing that they would be there and see something in you and say, well, come and intern with us for the summer, or come in, now you're about to graduate, it's we were in quarters then, but it's fall quarter or fall semester, or else you're going into spring semester, or for us it was winter quarter. So you have all these opportunities that you spent the last 2 or 3 years really engulfing yourself in, and now it's all starting to come to a head. So I had 2 amazing internships when I was in undergrad university, and I'm forever grateful to us at our Career Services Center, my actual College of Business professors, like I said, alumni support, and of course just my family and my friends. But after I did these internships, and I did one at a hospital and did one at an actual Army arsenal, it was wonderful. I was president of the Finance and Investment Society, and we had Beta Psi. We had all these different organizations that we all had sorry about that. Even though it's kind of warm when I'm in this room recording or working or doing anything, I get a little cool and I turn on my space heater. So sorry if you had to hear that sound going for the first 2 minutes of this video. So in getting back on track, so we do our career fair, the fall career fair, and there's distinguished alumnus who are there, who are wonderful. Actually, these 2 ladies who came back, they are still very prominent and still working in banking today, doing very well. And I got to spend the first few years of my first career with them, and it was amazing, and I'll forever be grateful to them. So when I was going through the career fair, I found a couple of different people who were just really warm, really great. They understood I was 21 or something. I know things, but I don't know anything. So it was all these great people to interview with. And much like the bank who I interviewed with a couple of banks, but this one was out of state, and it was really fun being kind of, I don't know, kind of, I guess, wanted for an interview, and they're kind of courting you. So with maybe 5 to 8 interviews I did, I always had a hotel to stay in that they paid for. I did university with my brother, so I had his car, and then a couple of them, he was like, well, I know some people in that city, and my brother came with me, and while I was interviewing or off doing something, he got to see some of his friends, and this was a really nice time. But with this particular organization, the alumnus or whatever who worked there and I was talking with, put a star on my resume CV and said, I looked over everything, said I'll pass this over for consideration for, you to be potentially selected for an interview. And I was just so happy, so elated that this person thought enough of me to make that type of recommendation, because I think when you're an underclassman and is someone who was a few years older than you, like when you were a freshman, they were a senior, you're constantly in that state of they're an upperclassman, like they're older and they're wonderful and they're brilliant and they've done all these great things. And you know, how as a colleague and as a former classmate, can I make sure that, you know, I make them proud of me in an interview? It's kind of the way that I was looking at it. So I was just elated. So I was in the throes of all these interviews during the winter, which in Ohio, we get a winter. So going to another state, even if it's only a couple hours away from you, you know, you're driving through snow, you're doing all this and maybe not booking a flight. It was a lot. It was a lot, but it was so intense and it was so fun. And thankfully, my junior year was very heavy. It was heavy with academics. It was heavy with activities. It was a lot. I was really in the throes of my major. I was just looking at my transcript. It was a lot. So luckily was considered my senior year during my junior year. I probably could have graduated early if I hadn't taken on some extra econ classes. But while in the throes of this, I was looking like I really gave myself the time to field offers and field companies and field places and really, you know, try to make the best informed decision that I could. So I was looking through some of the paperwork, and I actually was I got into you know, the city, and I got into meeting for the interview. And before I went in for the interview, my former classmate, well, I'll call them my friend, met with me first, because the night before we had gone out to dinner to talk, so they could kind of get me prepared for what was going to happen on, you know, with the actual interview. And I had went through a couple of hiccups before I actually made it there for the interview, but there was just a lot of different things. So you have this perceived intimidation when you go in for an actual interview, and she recognized that, and we talked. And what was nice is she actually gave some different pointers of questions to potentially ask. And there was like one where I was like, well, I don't even know what that means in a day of work. But there were other ones I was like, well, that is important. I do need to know what the structure of this program is, and, you know, committing to this type of development program, how, you know, it's going to affect me for the first year and what I potentially need to look out for. So always very grateful for that. And anybody who I either would interview or who would ask me for advice, that always has stuck with me over the years, to give them meaningful questions to ask, but actually speak with them and make sure that they understand what this question means, and more importantly, what your role means, what type of work it is that you're going to do. So I always loved and respected that about my friend, and my favorite upperclassman. I always respected that about her. So I go in, and before I went in though, there was something that I said to her, because I think when you have alumni support and you have people who come for career fairs, I just wanted her to know how appreciative I was to her, because finance was a very competitive field, and interviewing in the banking industry was very competitive. And I may have had on paper what I needed, but having the complete wherewithal, the complete mental capacity to, I wanted to let her know that I was all in with it. And I just remember being appreciative and thanking her again, but also just simply saying, don't worry, I'm going to make you proud. Because not a lot of people were referred in that whole 3 or 4 years or whatever since they graduated, and then I was interviewing. No one else had been hired to work at this particular bank. And this bank, which I'll get into a later series, was going through a lot of changes and different things at the time too. But we'll get into the throes of that. So I go in for these interviews, and of course they're all set up differently. But you have interviews with somebody who's a peer and someone who's maybe been there for 10 or 15 years. And you have these scenarios. You go in and set up like a panel format. And this took me all day. It pretty much took me all day. And I got another, because the first introductory meal the day before, we went to like 𝒮𝓶𝓂𝓂𝓯, which I still love to this day. I love that Italian restaurant. If you don't go. They're amazing. We went to 𝒮𝓶𝓂𝓂𝓯, and then the next day we went to, I think it's called Kona Jack's. This was in, and I don't know if it's still open, but everybody has some type of a Kona vibe when it's related to seafood, or even if it's not seafood, it's potentially, oh, my drink water reminder. If it's not seafood, it's Kona. I think it might be Hawaiian, but delicious, delicious seafood. But I was interviewing with them all day, and everything went well. And you never know how things are going to turn out. So my brother, again, was there with me in the city, and so were our friends. And we just went out after I had all these intense interviews and had a really great time. And my 2 upperclassmen, who I adored, of course, I met with them before I met with my brother and our friends, and kind of went through the layout of everything. And they were like, that's the same exact type of setup that we had. But I think what really made me comfortable is that it was a multi-generational interview. It was people who were a couple years ahead of me, and also people who had been there maybe 10 years, and also people maybe been there 20, 30 years. So it was nice to be relaxed, not rehearsed, but to know what was going on, and to be able to ask them, what is the structure of the rotations? How do you feel about working here, the ones who have been there for 2 years, for the next 20 years? What does a typical day look like in the life of a banker, but the banker's support system, which is the position I was interviewing for, which was a credit analyst or a corporate banking analyst. What are the benefits like? What is, there were a lot of changes just affected. They had just went through, I'll say merger, but it was an acquisition. They had just gone through an acquisition. So what are the feelings of this bank that had kind of performed on its own, and then now you're being acquired by a larger bank? You're being acquired by someone who has a genius CEO. And I'll just say it, Jamie Dimon. So there were all these different questions that I had, and you never know how anything is going to pan out. And things are a little different back then. So I would ask for business cards after the interviews, but you could be somewhere and somebody maybe didn't have a business card with them. I say, oh, can I write down your email? I always made sure to do that, because one way or another, you were going to hear from me. And I did this with all my interviews. And I just sent them a note of appreciation after the interviews. And then I needed to, it was a waiting game. And I was in touch with my beautiful alumni friends. And then I eventually got a phone call from HR. And you were going to get a phone call one way or another. So they could have been calling me to say, thank you for interviewing, but we're not going with you. But the call was amazing, and we went through it, and the day that I got the call, and the date of the initial offer letter I was looking at was actually a leap year. It was a leap day. It was on February 29th, which we don't get February 29th, but every 4 years. So this was
Really amazing, especially in the early aughts. It was really amazing. So, or in the aughts period. The aughts are 2000 to 2010. So, or 2009. So to speak with them and say, we're looking to offer you this position, and we'll be sending the offer letter to you. Not necessarily if I accept it, but just to say, because, you know, you're eager, but you don't want to be too eager because it's like, well, I'm fielding other offers and things as well. And I knew that they were going to mail this to me and send an email. But once they said the salary amount, it was different. It was like 5,000 to 10,000 more than anybody else was offering. Plus, you got a sign-on bonus and a relocation fee. So your whole first year package, you know, when you're coming out of school, it felt wonderful. It felt like a sense of belonging. It's like, you want me and I want to be with you. It was a great way to start out a professional relationship. So again, I still have these papers are very, very old, but just everything, looking at vacation time, looking at 401k and the match that you got, which their match, I need to go back and look at this. It may not be in this one because it was in a separate document, but they would match, I would say, like first 5%, 100% on your 401k benefits, and then pensions, and then volunteer time, and then most importantly, training and different things that goes into it. And so this was in early February, and I wasn't but I had already knew. It was nice already knowing what you were going to do for the next few months and just enjoying the rest of your university experience, which was winding down. It was just nice knowing that. And even though I maybe didn't, I, you know, tried to play it a little coy or whatever. Like, oh, you know, let me give you a call back. I'm pretty sure with this one, it wasn't like an immediate, yes, oh my gosh, yes. Because again, I was receiving other job offers. It was like, you know, could you email me and we can talk? But I'm pretty sure it was like, I may have called one of the upperclassmen and talked to them about it and said, I didn't want to seem too eager at the time because I had got another couple of offers come in, but I definitely want this. Like, I want to do this. And we were all excited and everything. And I feel that I told her I'd be in touch by the end of the week. And I called her like the next day to approve. And like I said, this is dated on a leap year. So a leap day. So it was just amazing. It was just really, because I've been going through a lot of different memorabilia and doing a picture project, when I was like, I want to get on YouTube and start sharing some meaningful, substantial, you know, purposeful type of content or, you know, journey. What I really loved about this was it has the phone list of the people I started my journey with. And when I was looking at it, even though I hadn't seen some of these names in years, I remember the intensive training that we went through the first few weeks of, you know, our actual development program. It was amazing. It was, I had committed to a commercial banking development program. And I know that they have these now and it's on a different level. And I'm pretty sure you go online and you apply for internships that way. And you apply for these development programs if they still have them. You apply for these online, different things. But I'm still hoping there is that alumni support within these type of programs, but I know it's not the same as it was when I did it, because they were changing the structure of it after this merger acquisition that happened when we were first starting. And I'll get into that more in the next video, but just kind of going back and looking through this and the feeling that you have when you are first looking to start your career. It's really, really, really an exciting time. And I don't know if it's there anymore, but alumni support was so important. And different businesses, whether locally or semi-locally, if it's in a different, you know, a state away, like if you're in Ohio and there's Indiana, Illinois, all these places who come, you know, to your university and actually have those career fairs. And I know a few years ago I was on USC's campus, and there was a major career fair there that looked wonderful. It looked like the ones we used to host in our gymnasium when I was at undergrad university. So it was nice to see, but I don't know if it's still that same type of structure, that same type of setup. But I just want to, again, commend alumni support, commend organizations who feel that university students are worth it. You have some who get very critical, like, well, you come to me and you don't know anything. Well, you know basics, you know, you have a foundation so that you can grow and you can learn, and hopefully you have that 6 months to a year to adjust and to really take that in if you don't have so many roadblocks. And the end goal in many situations when you're finishing up undergrad is to graduate knowing that you have a position without having to do so much pavement pounding, which some of us did have to do. But I'm very happy that our graduating class, something that was mentioned by our class speaker, Mr. Tim Reed. He may be Dr. Tim Reed. He's wonderful though. But Timothy Reed, I'll call him. Mr. or Dr. Timothy Reed. We had, if not 100%, nearly 100% job placement when my class graduated. So I just want to go back to saying the first post undergrad is a very important time. And that first started before I even received my degree, before we even walked across the lawn on commencement day. So I hope it's still going strong. I know it was very important to me the first part of my career, and definitely pre-COVID, to make sure to be giving back, mentoring, and going to put into not just the university, but also the students you matriculated with, and making sure that they have opportunities that you had, and to continue to see people grow and be on that ladder towards success. However long you stay in your first career, that time is important. So this was fun exploring. Again, maybe I didn't show in this video who the company was, but because I said the CEO's name, it's probably not hard to figure it out. And I will have more info on that in the next video. But thank you again for stopping by for a visit. I hope you'll comment. If you would like to subscribe as well, please do so. Again, continue enjoying the holiday season. It is December, and getting your goals and everything together for 2025. Feel free to share them with people or keep them to yourself, and just grow and enjoy life. So again, thanks for stopping by. Enjoy your day.